right, federal workers are claiming they are underpaid by an average of 35% compared to private employees. Well, just another report out, however, that shows exactly the opposite. They're lavishly overpaid. All right, who's right on this one? Well, let's talk to Jackie Simon, Public Policy Director at the American Federation of Government Employees, and Jason Richwine, Senior Policy Analyst at the Heritage Foundation. All right, Jackie, the article in the Washington Post today says that you are overpaid when you include all the fringe benefits, plus you have a lot of job security. So what do you make of that?
Well, it was rather interesting to read an article that was titled Truth About Federal Pay that contains so little truth. It started out by complaining that the salary data didn't include fringe benefit data. Well, of course, salary data doesn't include fringe benefit data. But the real dirty little secret behind the studies that Mr. Richwine and others like him have conducted is that the fact that the federal government doesn't follow the private sector in paying women and minorities less than white men who perform the same jobs, that's how they conclude that the federal government overpays. Well, the federal government doesn't overpay by any standard.
Let's hear the other side. Let's go. Jason, on this, I don't see, frankly, Jason, how you can do a study without taking all compensation. I mean, the fringe benefits may be more important than the wages and salaries. But what is your response to Jackie Simon's criticism?
Well, the criticism regarding race and gender is a complete red herring. Those things are just proxies for unobservability. There's no discrimination or anything else going on there. It's really a distraction. What we try to do in the Post piece is point out that every single year the government puts out a study that is very misleading in what it says about federal pay. Every year it says that federal workers are dramatically underpaid, but the reality is that virtually every outside study contradicts that. And it also doesn't really make sense from a gut level perspective either. So what we really want to do, and what we did in this piece, is just try to give suggestions for how to do better comparisons so you can get federal employees having fair market compensation. And to get there, you have to know where they stand right now.
But, Jackie, let me just go to this. As I understand it, federal union guys, you get 401ks, plus you get pension benefits, and they don't hardly pay for either. In other words, you get defined pension benefits, and you also get a 401k. Most private sectors don't have both. You get one or the other. How's that possible?
Well, I would like to respond to Mr. Richwine. All the studies he cites use demographic data to make their pay comparisons. The Federal Salary Council and the President's pay agent use job-to-job comparisons. And when you look at the data on what the federal government pays people who perform a particular job and compare that in the non-federal sector that includes both the private sector and state and local government, and looks at the salaries paid by those kind of employers for people who are performing the exact same kind of job, then you find the federal government underpaid.
You're not really answering the question I asked. You're not answering. I asked a simple
federal
question.
Employees overpaid.
You don't want to talk about the fringe benefits, which most people nowadays believe are more important than the cash benefits. So I'll go back. Jason, don't the fringe benefits, and I'm going to include health care, very generous health care benefits, very generous 401ks, and very generous defined pension benefits. Now, private sector don't have those advantages. Is that true? Is that the basis of what you're saying?
Yes, that's one of the major problems with the pay comparison the government does. It does not include fringe benefits. So everything you've heard about the federal sector having more generous fringe benefits, well, from this comparison, you can just forget about that. Forget about the defined benefit pension. Forget about the retiree health covers. We're just not going to talk about that. That's the way the government does it. Of course, you have to include all compensation. And I want to make a point about job-to-job comparisons. One of the major problems with the way the government does its job-to-job comparisons, it doesn't include the skills of the workers who hold those jobs. Private workers within a given occupation tend to have greater education and greater experience than a federal worker in the same occupation. So if you don't take that into account, you end up with very skewed results.
So I think, Jackie, President Obama is right to keep the pay freeze on. That's really what I'm hearing. When I look at the skill sets, when I look at the fringe benefits, when I look at the wages and salary, I think President Obama has this one exactly right. I disagree with you.
Well, President Obama has not proposed to continue the pay freeze. But remember who you're talking about here. You're talking about a VA nursing assistant who works in a VA hospital making around $24,000 a year. You're talking about a Border Patrol agent or a corrections officer working in a federal prison protecting the public against dangerous criminals, making under $40,000 a year. These are the people you're going after. These are the people you're complaining about their very modest salaries and wanting to lower their salaries. But I would like to make a point, if I may, about the benefits. The employer cost for providing those benefits is the way these comparisons are made. And federal pension benefits cost more than a private sector provision because we invest solely in treasury bonds, not in private equity.
You get pension benefits. There's hardly any copay on the health care. I think it's a hell of a deal. Anyway, James Richwine and Jackie Simon, thanks. That's it for this evening's show. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Larry Kudlow. We will be here tomorrow night.